Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. Today I'm joined by my good friend Chris. It's your third appearance on the pod, isn't it?
Third appearance, yeah.
Welcome back. It has actually been quite a while.
It has, it's been a while, yeah. And
the last time you were on, we were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was like episode 5 or something. So more or less 20 episodes later, he returns for yet another fun-filled chat about the superhero industry, Marvel. This episode isn't going to be a typical Popcorn Podcast structure where we just break down a film, but we're essentially going to have, I would like to say, somewhat of a Marvel catch-up, because there's been a lot of sort of news here and there, and our kind of thoughts on the general state of Marvel, the MCU and whatnot have been very up and down over the past couple of years. So I just thought it'd be really interesting to kind of talk about some of those things, and also have Chris on, because Chris is essentially my go-to Marvel guy. We have been watching these films. We say this every episode that he's on, but we have been watching these films and enjoying these characters together since we were the age of 11. Yeah. I think that, like I said, there has been quite a couple bits of news here and there floating in the stratosphere of the superhero genre. The first of which I kind of want to talk to you about, because I haven't actually properly spoken to you about this new news, is the Fantastic Four casting. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure you've heard.
Yes, I've heard things.
So Marvel Studios dropped this news on Valentine's Day this year, so a couple of weeks ago, and it was some news that a lot of us comic book fans have been waiting so long for. We've heard so many things over the years, but essentially since it was announced that the MCU were bringing Marvel's first family, first superhero family into the cinematic universe, I was certainly excited. I know you were excited as well.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
So yeah, let's talk about some Fantastic Four stuff. So Fantastic Four in general, right?
Well, to talk about Fantastic Four, we can't not start with the OG. We have to start with the OG. Jessica Alba.
It's funny that the first person to see about is Jessica Alba.
Wait, she's not Mr. and Mrs. Invisible to me, man. No, I'm joking. No, but these are the films we grew up with, that classic, just popcorn action movie. You go in, you know what you're gonna see, you know what you're gonna get. Yeah. But what I'd say that has always stuck with me is just the stuff for the Silver Surfer and how they tried to do it. Yeah. And the character that comes with it. Okay, it's a very difficult character to kind of build an emotional connection to for an audience, because he's an alien, he's a herald, but massive in the comics, big player, huge. And and you know what, the CGI for it and the way the character was done, that's something that's always kind of
we're talking about Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer from 2000 and I want to say 2000, which one? It was 2000s, right?
Yeah, the 2000s.
And before that, the original Fantastic Four with was it Owen Graff, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans and whatnot. Those two films, right? I feel like critically we can all agree they're not great films, right? However, I don't want to speak for you as well, but certainly for myself, just because of the time of which they came out and the time of which in our childhood or my childhood that I watched those films, similar to the original Raimi Spider-Man films, they were floating in around the same time, and definitely had a massive contribution as to why I love the universe and those characters so much, even though the films aren't that great. I still enjoy aspects of those films, particularly the Silver Surfer film, the sequel. I think the chase sequence in that film between Silver Surfer and Johnny Storm is one of the best, still one of the best.
When he turns around and just catches him, he's like, I could deal with you so easily.
It's so cool.
Such a display of power. Yeah. Yeah, even I'm nerding out about it. Just
and even Victor Von Doom in those films. The first film they sort of honed together their powers and defeated him, and then the second one he kind of sort of breaks out, and then in the end they team up with the Silver Surfer when he gets the board. All these really cool, interesting things. But most of all, also one of the best things about that sequel was when the Silver Surfer came into contact with them, how their powers all sort of started changing, and each got a taste of the other's powers, which was very cool. And at the end, they all give it to Johnny, right? And then he basically becomes the center of all 4 of their powers, and he goes and kicks Doctor Doom's ass, essentially. Remember how cool that was?
Yeah.
But of course, that's kind of like a tie-in to the Skrull stuff in the comics, correct?
Yeah.
Because there was like the Super Skrull stuff that comes from the comics, and the joining of the 4 of those powers.
Yeah.
All very, very cool stuff. And I feel like that is going to kind of tie into how they, or maybe how they're going to bring them into the MCU to tie it into with the Skrull stuff. But yeah.
So I wanted to say, so going back to the Fantastic Four that's going to be coming out, what do you reckon they're going to do? Okay, Victor Von Doom, that's the classic villain. What do you reckon they're going to do?
So I have no idea how they're going to start doing this. I think so what I've got here is Marvel, when they announce it, they say the highly anticipated cast of Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four has arrived, revealing the group in a card overflowing with hearts. Pedro Pascal is the brilliant and elastic Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Vanessa Kirby is the powerful Susan Storm, the Invisible Woman. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, I think that's how you say his name, is the clobbering. It's clobbering time. Ben Grimm, the Thing, and Joseph Quinn is the charismatic hot-haired Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. So let's give our thoughts on that casting. Who should we start with then? Who's a good pick to start with?
Well, I think we can't not start with Pedro Pascal.
Right, let's do Pedro Pascal first. Thoughts on Pedro Pascal in general as an actor?
I want to say, for me, Pedro Pascal, he's one of those actors that, like, he was in so many big things, like, but, like, kind of, like, far apart. So I've not seen a lot of... You've probably seen more of his, like, feature films and series and stuff. Firstly, saw him Game of Thrones.
Yep, Game of Thrones. Then,
after that, seen him in The Mandalorian. Last of Us as well, he's in.
Yeah, The Last of Us, I haven't yet seen. I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
That's one of the shows that's been on my watch list for a long, long time. In fact, yesterday with the SAG Awards, and he won Best Actor in I think drama, and no one expected that, including him. And he sort of, I don't know if you've seen the clip, but first thing I watched this morning was him sort of going up on stage. He was drunk out of his mind, and it's a hilarious acceptance speech. I think, yeah, like you said, Game of Thrones was the first thing I saw him in, and as Oberyn Martell in season 4 of Game of Thrones, which is still, in my opinion, the best season of Game of Thrones. An incredible character. Spoiler alert, came to a very, very tragic end. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But he was one of the highlights of that season for me, and just the charisma that he brought to that role, the physicality and the kind of wit that he brought to that role. Brilliant stuff. Then we got to sort of see him play Din Djarin as the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
A very, very kind of different role, much more subtle, not much dialogue. Everything is kind of, he has a helmet on for 99% of the time.
Do you know what? I'd argue that might even be more difficult to play.
That's what I was going to say.
To bring the range,
absolutely,
to bring the depth to the character, the subtleties.
Yeah.
And we've seen in, like, even in Obi-Wan, where, like, certain characters aren't. They're not, even though they're live and they're not fleshed out. They're boring.
Yeah.
And with The Mandalorian, what he's done and how they've done it, and credit to Disney for The Mandalorian, I do think it is falling off, it seems, a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't yet seen the third season.
But credit to Disney for The Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal, I think he's not... First season, definitely knocked out the park. Second season, I'd say again, very, very good performance.
I mean, I would definitely credit the success of The Mandalorian more to do with Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Pedro Pascal. But, I think what he did as the Mandalorian was a really good test of... I always say, like, the best, or one of the best tests to see if whether or not an actor is great is whether or not they have the ability to act with just their body and their facial expressions. Mandalorian, he has a helmet on, can't do that. But body language, he's so good. Like, for example, Tom Hardy as Bane, much of it is the physicality of the performance, how he moves, the subtleties of that. So essentially, I think what I'm trying to say is Reed Richards is, of course, a lot about his character is up here, but also a lot of his character is the physicality of it, right? And how one is able to move and react their body and whatnot. Pedro Pascal, I'll be completely honest, wasn't my number one pick to play Reed Richards, just because I feel like anytime there's huge casting, I want the character to be as comic accurate or look as comic accurate.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal, I feel like, almost has too much of a Hollywood persona at times, but not too much to the point that it can completely ruin the character.
Yeah, I
still have a lot of hope for it, and I think ultimately he will do a good job. But I think it ultimately depends on the chemistry he has with the other 3 Fantastic Four members, particularly Vanessa Kirby as Susan Storm.
So I've only seen Vanessa Kirby in Hobbs and Shaw. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay. Well, I would say that's not the best.
That's not
kind of,
because I'll say if that's all that I've got to go on, then I'm not.
I mean, she's fun. She was having good fun in that film.
She was to be fair. Yeah, saying that she was one of the better parts of the film.
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby, I think, is a fantastic actress. No pun intended. I've seen her in a range of different things, from sort of more kind of intimate dramas. She was nominated for an Oscar for a film called Pieces of a Woman, where she basically gives birth and they lose the baby, and the film is about the traumatic effects of a mother essentially losing her child. And I thought she was brilliant in that. And I haven't seen The Crown, which I know is probably her most sort of well-known role. I think she plays Princess Margaret. But I did recently see her in Ridley Scott's Napoleon. I actually saw her in the flesh when I went to the premiere. She's very tall. And so Susan Storm, I don't know how tall Pedro Pascal is, but obviously, aesthetic-wise, let's just say, to go for the nitty-gritties here, yeah, she's quite tall. She has a very physical presence to her. So when I think of Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, I do think of them as, like, obviously the mother and father of this group. And I'm trying to think, like, I haven't obviously seen photos of the two of them yet or whatever, so I can't judge. But I'm interested to see physically and aesthetically how the four of them, also how the two of them sort of stand in contrast to each other, and what kind of qualities they can bring to those characters physically. And I think it's interesting. Acting wise, I have no doubt she's a brilliant Sue Storm. She looks so much like Sue Storm from the comics.
Yeah, no,
her eyes like really blue, even borderline grey. I think she's great. Vanessa Kirby is one of the four that I'm least worried about when it comes to sort of taking on the role of the Invisible Woman. So we'll see what happens. Although I haven't seen her do a lot of American accents, even though I'm sure she can pull that off. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good casting for sure. Next up, we have Joseph Quinn as
Eddie
in
Stranger
Things. You've seen Stranger Things season 4, right?
I haven't.
No,
I know there's a buzz around Eddie.
Yeah,
but Eddie Bunsen.
Eddie Munson. Yeah. He, like Pedro Pascal, similarly to the kind of rogue character Pedro Pascal was in season 4 of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Joseph Quinn as Eddie Munson was very much the rogue character of season 4 of Stranger Things, and a lot of fans would say he stole the show in that season. I think he's a brilliant character. He has this kind of rock and roll, rough, tough energy about him in that show, and I think he's a great actor. But if you see him and watch him in interviews and whatnot, he's very much the opposite. He's very calm, very reserved. Myself and Panwa actually ran into him a couple of years ago at a premiere at the London Film Festival, where he sort of just came in and sat like sort of 2 rows behind us. And we looked at each other and like, oh my God, it's Joseph Quinn. So I think he's a terrific actor. I think he's great. And I think he's overall a good pick for Johnny Storm. Some of the qualities of Johnny Storm, though: he's a playboy, he's a hothead, he doesn't think irrationally, he's very different to his sister in that sense. So like she's wise and logical and exactly. And
whereas he's more of like kind of got that Tony Stark kind of edge.
Yeah, a little bit. What did you think of Chris Evans as the Human Torch back in the day?
I thought it was more like a kid Human Torch.
Yeah.
More of that kind of like.
But he has that character has the energy.
Yeah, that's part of that. Is part of the character. Is part of it. Is that kind of like almost childlike? I wouldn't say childlike. I'd say almost that kind of like more playboy kind of like vibe, and that suits the character as well as it translates better to the comics. And and obviously if this is a film to be set up for other films, I'm all for him starting off as like a Tony Stark kind of story of how he's growing up and
that will definitely be a big arc for him. But the thing is, like, one of the main conflicts he has with that group is the fact that obviously all 4 of them are technically geniuses. Reed Richards being one of the biggest, the greatest geniuses in all of Marvel. All of them are technically geniuses, but he has always been the one that is kind of the kid of the group. And like his sister and Reed Richards, everyone else is kind of looking after him. He's always getting into fights with the Thing, which we'll get to in a second. And one of his main conflicts is he doesn't like the idea that they always treat him like a kid, which is what kind of causes him to kind of go off and do all these rogue things and sort of get into trouble. And remember the first film he did the motorbike riding and all that stuff. So yeah, no, I remember watching the original Fantastic Four, and Chris Evans certainly looks the part. Like, he looks like that kind of playboy sort of. He very much gives that vibe. Joseph Quinn, I haven't seen him in a lot of things other than obviously just Stranger Things. I know he's got quite a few projects coming up. He's in the new Quiet Place coming up as well. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the role. My number one pick for Human Torch casting, though, was, funnily enough, another actor who was in Stranger Things, and that is Dacre Montgomery from Stranger Things, who played Billy. I think Joseph Quinn is great. Job as well. But my number one casting beforehand was Dacre Montgomery. He's, for me, that is Johnny Storm, like, to a T. But yeah, no, and finally we have Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Yeah. You know him from
Punisher.
The Punisher TV
show.
Yeah, I mean, I did forget that he was actually in The Punisher, and that was the first thing I'd actually seen him in. But of course, the thing that I know him from, and most people seem to have known him from, is The Bear, isn't it? Which I just recently finished season 2, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's an entire episode where he essentially has this one sort of there's an arc for his character in this one episode, and he's absolutely fantastic in that. Thoughts on him as Ben Grimm?
So this is the thing. What I liked about the first Fantastic Four, with the first Fantastic Four, with Ben Grimm, is that they explored the theme of him almost losing his life, because of all the other characters, they all look the same. There's not really a physical difference to them, whereas Ben Grimm, he's basically lost his life.
Yeah.
His the way he lives, he's lost living a normal life.
He loses his girlfriend.
And yeah, just the physical appearance and exploring that kind of that kind of change in a character, like realizing that actually no, you're changed forever now.
Yeah.
What's happened to you is done and dusted. But yeah, going back to the casting, I think if they can explore that kind of like transformation, I'm sure CGI will help and special effects. Then I will say that I have hope. I have hope that he'll be very good casting. One thing we spoke about before was he's quite old. He's 46.
It's 46, 47, yeah.
And I'm not saying that's like a problem or an issue, but I'm thinking long term. Is he going to be wanting and willing to carry a franchise and carry it on?
So your questions are basically kind of more to do with the longevity of like whether or not he will stay in the role.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think my take on that is kind of like, look, the MCU have got a shit ton of money, right?
Yeah.
So money's not going to be the issue. If anything, it's going to be one of the main draws. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, as well. Exactly. If they lose him, which I don't think they will, but if they did lose him, they could technically get someone else to fill in for that role, because the thing is very much, he does not look like skin and bones anymore, right? But yeah, I think the guy is a really terrific actor. I'm just trying to check the age on Pedro Pascal, because he is 1975, so he's coming up to 50 years old, basically. So they're all sort of pushing the late 40s. Vanessa Kirby's not that age.
She's 35.
She's 35. Yeah, okay, 35. And then obviously Joseph Quinn is obviously just, I think I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, around the 30 mark, or even maybe younger. But that of course fits Johnny Storm. But interesting you say about the Thing's kind of main arc is like his sort of transformation from a normal human. Well, I want to say normal, he's a genius as well. He still goes to space and gets powers. But his transformation from that to becoming this essentially monster figure, become that isolation, whatever, is kind of a metaphor for like, people who struggle with mental illness and isolation and like becoming physically disfigured in a way, and how their life changes as a result of that, and how their people around them treat them different, whether that be good or bad or both, or more so the kind of psychological effect it has on you. And I think that character opens up so many avenues for Marvel to kind of really get gritty and sort of really intimate and personal with a character like that. Whether or not they do that well is completely dependent on the film. We'll see. But yeah, I think that kind of just wraps up our thoughts. I am really excited to see kind of the direction they take. Whether or not it's going to be set in the past, whether or not it's going to be set in the present, how it's going to tie in. This is the thing with the first film. I don't want them to really start tying it in to other stuff. I want them to kind of do a good origin story 100%. And kind of explore the foundation of these characters, and just sort of just cut the whole cinematic universe stuff first, and just focus on the characters.
Yeah,
right?
These are like very, very cool characters.
Yeah, they are. Marvel's first family. Yeah. The film is going to be directed by Matt Shakman, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is his first feature film. But he has worked predominantly on TV shows. He's worked a bit on Game of Thrones. He's worked on. He was the main director of WandaVision. He's done a bit of Succession, The Boys. So he's had experience with big IPs, but never from a feature film standpoint, or unless I'm wrong, never from a feature film standpoint. So I think it'd be interesting to see what he does with this group of characters. So yeah, I'm excited. The film is set for release next July, I want to say. Yeah, July 25th, 2025. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Cool. So the next kind of segment I want to talk about, and I do apologize, I'm going to try and keep this very quick. I do want to talk a little bit about Madame Web, because I did go to see it, not last night, the night before. You haven't seen it, have you, Chris?
I haven't seen it.
Save yourself.
We'll talk. That's gonna be the next part. I'm assuming we'll talk why I haven't seen it.
Okay, right. So Madame Web. What can I say about Madame Web? So you know the Homelander meme of Homelander sitting in a screen just like this. No, not that. This meme. Oh, no. That meme. You know that meme?
Yeah.
That was me the entire way through the film. Right. This film. Oh gosh, what I don't even want to waste my breath on it, but was it as bad as I thought it was going to be? Yes, it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. Was I personally insulted by this film? I feel like if I didn't have the expectations prior, yes. So that kind of took the blow off a bit. This film is just an atrocity. I'll be completely honest. It's just a complete, utter mess from start to finish. The moment the film starts, the problems begin. And the consistency with regards to filmmaking, special effects, acting is just so poor. Dakota Johnson, I think, is on a whole, I like her as an actress. I liked her in a lot of things that she's done before. More recently, she did a film with Shia LaBeouf called The Peanut Butter Falcon, and then she did a film called Cha Cha Real Smooth, which I thought she was really good in. In this film, she kind of is a bit just sleepwalking through it. There's no sense of urgency or you never get a sense that she wants to be there on set, and this is further just followed through by just the press stuff afterwards. She just looks like, one of those actors or actresses who are literally, it's part of their contract, they just have to do press for this film. She knows this film is a complete mess herself, and whenever the cast themselves know it, you as an audience member know that, right? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say, what was worse, Madame Web or
Morbius,
yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing, right? So one of my problems with Madame Web, the entire script is just so.
Is it Morbius
bad.
Level? Is it that?
Oh no, they are on the same level, yes, right. And of course, this is just a sort of kind of nod to the entire Sony Marvel universe, whatever the fuck they're trying to do. Yeah. Is obviously their strategy or their direction that they're. Essentially what they're doing with these characters is obviously all the Spider-Man villains, right? You have Venom, you have Morbius, the Living Vampire, Kraven the Hunter, which is coming out later this year, and obviously Madame Web. All these Spider-Man villains. And they just aren't dropping this whole sort of Sinister Six idea that was kind of the inception for it was in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they thought they were going to do the same thing as the MCU and build this massive universe. Well, that fucking flopped, didn't it? Yeah. And now they just won't drop these characters just because they have the right to these Spider-Man characters.
It's a cash grab at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And the problem, Madame Web, really, really bad script, really, really bad dialogue. And to answer your question about whether Morbius is better than Madame Web essentially is an entire film that's not really a film. It doesn't really have a plot. The characters are atrociously written. The villain is shit. There's no motivations behind anything they do. Some of the writing decisions are genuinely cringe-inducing and just baffling. I was sitting there, I was like, why are they there's a scene, right, not to go into the overall sort of story, but there's a scene where you have these young women, these actresses, right? Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and I can't remember her name, the other girl, who essentially the Madame Web has to kind of protect them the entire film because she can see the future and she sees that these girls are in danger. And there's a scene of, they're supposed to be under the age of 18, and there's a scene where essentially the film sexualizes teenagers by kind of making them basically in a restaurant start dancing promiscuously for a group of guys. I was watching that and I was so confused. Me and Clara was watching this on Friday night and we're like, is this actually happening, right? What is going on, right? Who wrote that? Why is that in the film? It's just I just don't get it, right? The entire film is just, the script is so bad, right? Once again, to get back to your question about Morbius, right? Do I prefer Morbius? I mean, they're both atrocious films, but Morbius, at least Morbius has its own kind of thing. Like, it's about the Morbius character and that kind of arc. Madame Web is essentially 2 hours of wink wink Spider-Man nods here and there. The first act, right? So Madame Web, just for your clarification, because I know you haven't seen the film, it doesn't take place in the Tobey Maguire universe. It doesn't take place in the Andrew Garfield universe. It's an offshore Sony universe, right? But
the Venom universe?
I don't know. I don't know. It could take place in the Venom universe. I'm not sure. But essentially, Peter Parker is a thing, or is going to be a thing, because it's this whole sort of moment. Not the whole moment. There's so many beats of the film where they're teasing Peter Parker, or teasing a version of Peter Parker, because Cassandra Webb, who's Madame Web, played by Dakota Johnson, her paramedic partner is Uncle Ben.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is Uncle Ben. So Uncle Ben's brother, Richard Parker, is not in the film. Yeah. But Richard Parker's wife, Mary Parker, is in the film, and she's pregnant. So there's a whole scene where Madame Web goes to Mary Parker's baby shower. And there's this whole thing with like all the mums around the baby shower are trying to guess the name of the baby. And every time they go to say, or like, there's some cheap sort of thing, but it was like the entire first act was them like, oh, Spider-Man, ooh, Spider-Man, ooh, Spider-Man, and it's just so bad. It just pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. There's a whole thing with Madame Web's origins, and kind of in the Amazon rainforest, these spider people, and there's a quote right in the film where essentially it's a mismatch of, with great power comes with great responsibility. And when they said this line, they say it multiple times through the film. They were like, with great responsibility, great power follows, some bullshit version of it. And I was sitting there like, just fuck off, like just hit, like fuck off, right? Just to so like, once again, going back to your Morbius question, at least Morbius was shit, but it was shit in a singular kind of sort of way. Madame Web was just like, oh yeah, Spider-Man, shit, just so bad. I'm like Kraven the Hunter. My God, like I don't even know what I've got zero expectations for that film. I just hope that it's somewhat better than Morbius and Madame Web. The bar is very low, but there you go. And like, oh gosh, I don't think I have any redeemable things I can say about Madame Web as a film.
Do you know what's sad is you're literally talking about the film, and it looks like it pains you to say these things.
It does.
It pains you to say these things.
It does. It's so bad. The only kind of not cool thing, the only kind of wink moment where I thought I was like, okay, that's interesting, but the execution was shit, is the idea, like in the third act, right? Madame Web, it gets her powers. Yeah. The moment there's this massive climactic thing where she gets her powers, and it's like a massive moment for the character. She becomes this so powerful being. Yeah, because she's intercut with the birth of Peter Parker. Okay. So I thought, like on paper, that's quite a cool idea, interestingly, but the execution is just so bad. There's no build up to her getting her powers, right? There's no reasoning for why she just becomes powerful. She just like, there's a moment where there's a bunch of visual effects like, and it kind of just floats and just saves everyone. Yeah. It's so poorly done. The villain was atrocious as well. He was like an alpha male Andrew Tate ripoff kind of person who just strolls about in like barefoot. I don't even know what his character was. His entire arc, there's no arc. His entire motivation in the film is because he can kind of also see the future a bit like Madame Web. And in his dreams, he sees these three girls, these spider women in the future, kill him. And he wants to prevent that from happening. So he tries to find these girls before they get their powers and kill them. And Madame Web is just trying to save them the entire film. And it's just so bad. The writing is so bad. There's a scene where Madame Web, she's like a mother figure or older sister figure who is going to, because she's a paramedic, she's teaching these girls a useful life lesson, which is CPR, how to do CPR, right? And she's teaching them. I'm like, oh my God, this isn't going to come in handy later. Like, the way it's just done, the way it's put in the film is so on the nose. There's nothing subtle about it. The storytelling is so all over the place. I'm done. Like that's just it.
Worst film of the year for you?
I mean, the year's just begun. Potentially, yeah. If there's anything worse than this, I don't know what Hollywood are doing, honestly. But there you go. That's my Madame Web rant, essentially. I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. But yeah, unintentionally, the film it wasn't even funny. I couldn't laugh at it. If a film is bad and I can laugh at it, at least I get that comedic relief. Yeah. This was just bad. I'm sorry, it was just bad. Was it like the worst film I've ever seen in my entire life? No. Was it one of the worst superhero films I've seen? Yes. And I think we'll leave it at that. Don't watch it, man. Honestly. Okay. But you haven't seen Morbius either, have you? Have you?
I couldn't bring myself.
Okay, there you go. Well, yeah, don't save yourself the
time.
Because I
love Morbius. When I was watching in the 90s, they had the Spider-Man the TV series, and he was such a like sick character. And the thing is, like aesthetically, it looked very good, like the trailers and this.
Yeah.
But look, eventually I probably will watch it. I will watch it
just for homework, yeah.
But literally just for homework. But it's not a pleasure watch. That's the problem.
It's the opposite. It's a fucking painful watch.
Because it's work.
Yeah.
Because it's like, right, I need to keep up to this, and keep up with the next and the next and the next until eventually.
I think Sony literally just needs. You know what baffles me is I don't think. I mean, Sony, yeah, whatever. I'm not entirely blaming the studio, whatever, because they are capable. Like another department of theirs is the Spider-Verse department, which are doing incredible things. They're doing the complete opposite. They're pushing the boundaries of animation, of storytelling in that department. It's really, really great stuff. So I just don't know why the hell they continue to make these fucking B-movie Spider-Man villain spin-off films that are going to flop at the box office now because people have come to their senses and know that these films are going to be shit before they've even been released.
Yeah.
And it's such a lazy attempt. It's everything that represents Hollywood at its worst, in my opinion. Like, it's just...
Right, so we've moved on to...
I think we're moving on. Like, I'm sorry, but that's my Madame Web rant, and just, I can't wait for Kraven the Hunter, man. But looking somewhat optimistic. I want to say optimistically, but I think you wanted to talk a little bit about the general kind of state of the MCU.
You started this podcast and you said we're having a Marvel catch-up.
Yep.
The truth is we're having a Marvel moan because...
Unfortunately.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is what these guys do to us. These films.
Unfortunately, they have us in a chokehold.
Yeah.
And we actually care.
Yeah.
So
for me, I think you said it before. It's like I said it before in the podcast. They're pumping out these films that are just trash, absolute trash, series trash, and it's like it's all cash grabs. People, and going back to what you said, okay, the Madame Web. The reason most people will go to that is because it's connected to Spider-Man. Okay, who's Madame Web? No idea.
Or they have no idea what the film is, and they're like, oh, this looks cool, and then they're going to go into it, what the fuck is this? But yeah, go on.
And this is the thing, they're using these big characters, like these big names, marketable names, to draw people in to a rubbish film, a rubbish series, and
they know it's bad. They know it's bad.
I'll give you, so... Can we talk... I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I want to talk quickly about Thunderbolts.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
And what I think. So, I've seen the cast of the Thunderbolts, and...
good cast.
It's a good cast, but I think, for me... Look, this is where we might disagree. I think the characters they're using... Ghost, US Agent, we've got Yelena, Black Widow...
Winter
Soldier as well. These characters, like... For me, these aren't... I wasn't really interested in these characters. So US Agent, especially US Agent Ghost. I'm not going to say Yelena Black Widow just because I think she's the new Black Widow.
Florence Pugh's good.
Yeah, Florence Pugh's good. I do like Florence Pugh as an actress. But for Thunderbolts, this is where we're having Harrison Ford come in
General Ross.
Yeah, General Ross in the films, and that's that. I can't wait for that. But to have this, I don't think this lineup of heroes and / anti-heroes / villains is big enough for people to create a story that actually that people care about these characters. It's, for me, I might even believe now that the MCU have peaked with Endgame. I think they have peaked.
They have. Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
The thing is, right, it's not... For me, I kind of disagree with you on the Thunderbolts because I feel like even though I haven't got much excitement for the film, I think the idea that they aren't these massive characters, but essentially a team of misfits, could potentially work out in their favor because then you get creative decisions that require sort of more nuanced decisions. Essentially, they require more sort of detail, and there's hopefully going to be more focused on building these characters and as a group, as opposed to the massive blockbuster appeal of the film. And I think the fact that it's almost like a fresh thing. Like, it's not giving us Fantastic Four, it's not giving us Avengers, it's not giving us Captain Marvel, or like, I don't know, like Thor or something. It's not giving us something so out there. So almost like, it's like, what have they got to lose? If it's bad, it's bad. But I think like they could do something super like interesting with them, and it can kind of bring in a new sort of element of these kind of anti-heroes. Because remember, before Guardians of the Galaxy, no one gave a shit about Star-Lord or Gamora or Drax or Rocket Raccoon unless you were like a super hardcore OG fan. And even at that, Guardians were never the real kind of appeal of Marvel. But then James Gunn took it and was like, you know what? He made the Guardians what they were, and those characters and those actors. I feel like that's kind of why I'm like, you know what, Thunderbolts, let's not count them out. Give them a chance. So that's kind of why I haven't. Yeah, sorry, no, carry on. No, that's kind of why I've got like somewhat hopes for that, because it is something so different. And I feel like the problem with the MCU. So this is the thing, because me and Chris, like, if you hadn't known by now, we're such big fans of this world and these characters, right? We actually care, believe it or not. Even though at times it might seem we don't, we do care. But I feel like it can all go back to the simple facts of the matter is we haven't seen all of the new stuff recently. And of course that is because there is so much content out there. But at the same time, we are Marvel fans and we would give everything a chance. But it's almost like we've lost hope a little bit, right? No, it's like we're waiting for that thing to come in and be like, right, we're back on track, right? And I think the one silver lining I can see somewhere in the future that I'm trying to grab, give it to me, is Deadpool 3. Is Deadpool 3. And let's talk about Deadpool 3 then, right? You saw the trailer. Yeah. What was your reaction? I mean, we. Oh man. Our reaction: 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Right. Okay. Deadpool 3. Take it away.
Right. So, Deadpool 3 for me is like this is something we've been joking about and talking about like since Deadpool's come out.
Yeah.
Since Deadpool's come out, we was what if this
who'd win in a fight? Yeah, who'd win a fight? Wolverine or Deadpool? We've been arguing about this when we were kids, and now.
And now we will finally see it live action.
Yeah.
In front of our eyes, and I can't wait. I'm all for it. Deadpool 3 it's something I'm really, really excited about. And
it's like the first it's the first MCU thing in a while that I've been like, maybe even since No Way Home.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The thing I'm super, super excited about. But
the thing is, the Deadpool movies with Ryan Reynolds, they're just fun. They're not too serious. The character's not meant to be taken too seriously. It's okay if
nothing matters, basically. Nothing matters. Yeah.
If it's not like a linear story of like a hero and a villain, because Deadpool he's a vigilante. He's an anti-hero. He's even more of a villain sometimes.
Yeah, the way he goes about doing things is very villainous, but he is. I think he's got the essence of a hero. Yeah, like the first two Deadpool films. The first one I think is still the better of the two. 100%. The second one was super fun as well. We went to that film and we were laughing our asses off. Do you remember the whole? Remember Bao? Bao was like the moment that got him in Deadpool 2 was what is it? What's it called?
Which one?
God! Oh my gosh! No.
What? Domino? Juggernaut?
No. Oh yeah, it was the moment where Cable and Deadpool first encounter in the prison, and he's like, "I'm from the future," and then Deadpool's like, "Do they have dubstep in the future?" And then it starts playing like Skrillex, and they're so brilliant. Yeah, like the films are fine and they're okay,
they're good. Like
it's like that character is such a breath of fresh air. And I know me and Mickey were talking about this on a couple of episodes ago about Deadpool 3, and kind of when the first one came out, it was like such a new sort of revolutionary thing in the superhero genre. Everyone's like, oh my god, have you seen Deadpool? It's brilliant. It's this, that, great. And then a couple years later they did Deadpool 2, but it felt almost too soon, because it felt like there was just so much Deadpool going on. So the Deadpool climate was so big.
But I feel like the studio budget must have skyrocketed afterwards. I could tell after the first film, definitely. And even they made a joke about it with the X-Men not having they made a joke about it.
Exactly.
And like that's what makes Deadpool so good. It's like one of those things where it felt like it was a kind of like a low-ish budget for a superhero film, throw it out there, and it just focus on the humor, the character. The character is a brilliant character, and yeah, I just think it's really worked. And having Hugh Jackman, we're not. He's not
back.
ready for that.
He's back. Here's the thing, right? He left. Perfect note. He left it. Logan done. Finished. Bish bosh done. It's not the same Wolverine. Thankfully, they're not resurrecting him to come off and do it the MCU. No, it's a different
variant.
Different Wolverine. Much more close to the comic book aesthetic with the yellow suit. They didn't reveal him in the first trailer. I feel like they might reveal him a little bit in the second trailer. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that. I want to save that for the theatre experience. Me and you're gonna be screaming like little girls when we see him.
Yeah.
So excited for that crossover between. I mean, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman have always had this kind of back and forth on social media. It's one part of this kind of big joke. Yeah, like this one big joke kind of thing. And now we get to see that. We get to see that kind of interplay. And I think it's what comic book fans need right now. It's like the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, there is some sort of salvation amongst all this just mess going on. Deadpool is the thing that is like every comic book fan is like, yep, I'm gonna be there opening weekend. I'm gonna experience this. I'm gonna hopefully love it.
And there'll be another chance to actually do Deadpool vs Wolverine good, not like X-Men Origins Wolverine.
No. let's not even go there.
And it's funny. And you know what? They almost got away with it, but they're not going to. Fantastic Four. With Miles Teller, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
and they're not getting away with it. They're not getting away with it. Sorry.
That's another Sony production, isn't it?
It's another Sony production.
No, it's a Fox production.
No, you're right. It's Fox. They're not getting it. Sorry, we're not getting. We can't gloss over the fact that film was atrocious.
Do you remember the night before we went to see that film? You called me. So Chris, obviously Fantastic Four. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's getting rebooted. We're so excited. Can't wait to see this
new
fresh take with Miles Teller. Miles Teller was one of my favorite actors at the time. Can't wait. Bish bosh done. We're gonna go see it Saturday night, right? Friday night. What happened, right? It's like 2 a.m, and I'm like,
it was 2014, wasn't it, or 2013?
I think it's 2016. I want to say 2016, around that time.
Okay.
And you called me. And at that time, IMDb ratings were everything to us. Remember? Yeah. That's how we would rate films. Oh my god, you see the IMDb rating? I remember you called me on the night before we went to see it. I didn't know if I should call you and tell you this because I just didn't want. Bro, go on IMDb and look at the Fantastic Four rating. I was like, yes, I can't wait. And this was me. It was like abysmal, right? And I was like, no, surely there's like someone's hacked IMDb. It can't be true. And we saw the film.
Oh no.
And it was true. Yeah. That film has just disappeared though. I haven't really.
Yeah, that film. It's like I've blocked it in my memory. It's in the vault.
You know what the thing is with that film? Like contrast to the Madame Web, Morbius stuff, the cash grab stuff. Yes, there is a kind of an element of cash grab with that Fantastic Four version, just because it's Fantastic Four. But I just feel like
it's just so stupid.
It was just bad. The film was just bad. It wasn't
what were they doing? Victor, what were they doing? If you're stuck, stick to the source material. It's not that difficult.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go on.
So for the new Fantastic Four, who would be your ideal Victor Von Doom? Doctor Doom. Who, if there was an actor that you could pick to play Victor Von Doom?
That's a difficult question.
I know my answer. It's very bait and it's very obvious or out there, but so mine is Cillian Murphy.
You think?
I think Cillian Murphy would be an incredible Victor Von Doom. And I think there's talk that obviously now that Jonathan Majors has been fired, Kang is obviously floating to the sidelines. He's not going to be. They changed the title of the new Avengers film. It's not Kang Dynasty anymore because obviously that character is just, swept under the rug. So there's talk that apparently the new big bad is going to be Victor Von Doom.
Do you know what? I might agree with you with Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, I
reckon, but he could.
Ice cold, that guy.
Ice cold, yeah.
There's also casting rumors of Javier Bardem playing Galactus. And Anya Taylor-Joy playing the Silver Surfer. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, she's a girl, whatever. I think Anya Taylor... You know what? For me, the Silver Surfer character has always been a bit asexual for me.
Well, it's Norman Rad, isn't it?
Yeah, but in the film, he had, like... Even in the comics, he had, like... He used to have a lover before he was taken by Galactus. But he's always been a very kind of asexual character. So for me, the gender thing, if they cast a woman or a man, it is not a big thing for me. And I love Anya Taylor-Joy as an actress. I think she's fantastic, and I think she could potentially pull it off. She has that kind of, I don't want to say alien look, but her face is like
Alien
interesting,
look.
but like
She's
in like a good way. Like she has a very
that's
distinct face and features, right?
Yeah.
And I think potentially for Silver Surfer that could work really well, and it could
I
bring a new, fresh sensibility to the character.
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
But no, yeah, coming back to Deadpool 3, I can't wait. Obviously, the way they're bringing him into the MCU is via the TVA. I just want to say, I know I'm in the minority here, but I don't know if you've seen Loki season 2, but everyone loves Loki season 2. I didn't love Loki season 2. I'll be completely honest. I didn't love it. I just felt like it was incredibly TVA heavy, and it got very sort of monotonous at one point. Maybe I need to watch it again. And there's this incredible sequence with Loki towards the end, which uses so much visual effects, and the end point of that character is super cool. But I just think on a whole, season 2 didn't really do it for me that much. But yeah, that's just my kind of thoughts. But yeah, they're using the TVA to bring Deadpool in, and obviously what's important isn't how he comes into the MCU. They're just using, they acknowledge it. It's very meta, but the focus of it is going to be, obviously the film is called Deadpool and Wolverine. The focus is going to be their relationship, and I think the main villain is going to be Cassandra Nova. Interesting, cool, but the villains, like I say, the villains have never really been the strong point of the Deadpool films. It's very much that character.
That's because, like I said, he's basically a villain himself.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You make someone more evil than him who goes around chopping people's heads off with swords.
Exactly. But I think it's fair to say we're both very excited for that. We're going to be the opening day. We will do an episode on it, of course, when it comes out. But yeah, I think that it more or less concludes our sort of Marvel catch-up. Unless you have anything else you want to add or bring to the table in this discussion. But yeah, no, I think we've kind of hit all the sort of latest Marvel news.
I'm very happy. I got some
we're
stuff off my chest.
We're frustrated, but we're hopeful and optimistic for the future. We love these characters. We love, at the end of the day, as much as we slander the studios for their kind of creative decisions, you know, we're not in those meetings. We're not in those boardrooms. We don't know really what's been saying. No one does. It's easy to kind of point the finger at so and so and so and so and so and so. But we're hopeful and optimistic for the future that somewhat we can kind of get back on track, because it's been in this kind of grey area for a while now, and it's about time we go back.
I think oversaturation of heroes and not focusing on like
the characters.
The characters.
Yeah. You just need to do that.
Does it need to be an origin story?
Doesn't need to be an origin
Watch
story.
the Batman.
Exactly.
Does it need to be an origin story?
Well, it depends on the character.
Depends on the character.
Yeah.
If it's a
Batman, everyone knows who Batman's
everyone knows who Batman is. But I think I'm happy.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me with this Marvel catch-up, guys, and thank you so much for watching, listening, guys. Let us know what you think about the general sort of state of Marvel, Hollywood. If you want to give your thoughts on the Madame Web film, or if you don't, and whether or not you're excited to see Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine, as it's now called. And yeah, let us know what you think. We're very excited to know. But for now, thank you for watching, listening, and we will catch you very soon in the next episode of the podcast.